Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to wait a few other seconds, make sure everybody is in before we can start the webinar. Welcome everyone to our edSPIRIT webinar called How to Make Interactive Courses on edSPIRIT. I'm very excited to be here. Some of you here have already met me, but for those of you who haven't, hi, my name's Ida. I'm the sales representative of edSPIRIT as well as the Enterprise Business Development Associate at Notion Wave. It's lovely to be here with all of you, the dear attendees and my dear colleagues. For those who are new to us, we will start with a brief introduction to Notion Wave along with an overview of edSPIRIT, which is an Open EdX partner. After that, we'll delve into our main presentation, which will focus on how to effectively use the Open EdX Studio to create interactive courses that engage students and enhance their learning, enhances their learning experience. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a quick Q&A to go through some of the questions that may arise. A couple housekeeping rules before we begin. All microphones will be muted to minimize background noise. You can go ahead and use the Q&A function, which we will address at the end of the webinar. And the webinar will be recorded and sent to all the attendees after it is done. So let us introduce ourselves. Notion Wave is an edtech company that started in Toronto, Canada in 2012. Over the years, we have successfully expanded our territories and established offices in UAE and Egypt. We aim to become the leader in edtech innovation, transforming education and research with cutting-edge AI-driven solutions that inspire and enable all learners. Our vision and mission, let's discuss that. We aim to stand at the frontier of the education and academic community, putting teachers, learners, and researchers' needs first. Our approach integrates the latest advancements in artificial intelligence, ensuring that our solutions are adaptable, inclusive, and effective in meeting the diverse needs of the education community. I'm quite excited to present our diverse product portfolio for K-12 and higher education. Our offerings include DoExam, which is an AI-driven online exam solution, TroWeb, which is a knowledge discovery, knowledge management system powered by AI, Popnito, which is our digital publishing service, and Cynito, which is an AI-integrated research toolkit that leverages extensive data sources. But today, we will be focusing on edSPIRIT. If you're interested in exploring any of our other products, I would be very happy to set you up with the correct contact people, and we can all sit down and have a chat about that. So with that being said, I am going to start our webinar for today. So the topic is going to be how to make interactive courses on edSPIRIT. Now, in the e-learning community, making your courses interactive, which is make you and your students sort of have a collaboration, make these students active during the course, it's kind of important. So how that's going to work is I'm going to showcase some of the features of edSPIRIT and Open EdX that keeps your students engaged with the course, making them do things, interact with the learning material, overall a very lively and engaging experience that sort of helps students to also learn better, and it also helps with their deeper learning skills. So with that being said, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we can jump into the edSPIRIT Studio to get started on our tips and tricks. Here we go. Okay, as you can now see, I am in my studio home. We're going to take this step by step. I've taken the liberty of adding a couple prerequisite items so that we can go through this faster and more efficiently. But with that being said, once you have your edSPIRIT instance set up, you can easily come to your studio and click on adding a new course. Here you will add your course name, which will appear here. You can create said course under any organization name that you want. I will call this organization 1. Assign a course number and a course run to it. With this, easily you have created your very first course. Now, I'm going to be abandoning this one because I'm going to switch to the one that I have sort of began setting up. So again, we can go through this in a bit of a faster way. Interactive e-learning mastery with edSPIRIT. So let's get started. This page you see right here is your course outline page. Now, how this works is that when you're creating courses, you usually have a structure in mind. Now, that structure can be the way you're willing to or want to present your learning materials. And the way the studio here in edSPIRIT works is that you can categorize your courses. So you start by big sections which have like huge chunks of information bit by bit, and within each one of those you can add subsections. So here my section would be the welcome section, and then I have a introduction subsection added to it. And under each subsection you can add as many units as you want. As you can see here, I have added my very first unit here. And that being said, and this being your course outline page, you can really easily start setting up the very first structure you have in mind. I'm going to take us to the first unit inside the studio so we can just follow the agenda that I've set up here. So let us begin by setting up our course. So first off, considering this will be your welcome section and you want your students to really start delving into this, what we have here is a oh, let me add one thing before we move on. What you can do is, again, what did we discuss? We had sections, underneath them multiple subsections, and then multiple units under each. And within each unit, what you can do is you can add components. Now, these components have a vast variety. They can be of the problem type. They can be open response assessments. They can be text components, image components, video components, depending on how you want to present your material to keep your students or learners very engaged with your content. So how I went about with it was that I added a text component, and we can even go ahead and add another one to see how that works. So as you can see, these are the components that we can add. I'm going to click on text here and drop a text component. Now, the nice thing about here is that you can easily just drag and drop these and put them wherever you want. So if I click on edit after I have added a component, now this is where I can actually utilize the component, set it up the way I want it. So I will call this, instead of text, I will call this my welcome message, which welcomes the students into, which welcomes the students in my course. Now you can go ahead here, add some images. As you can see, there's an image button here where you can easily insert your images here. And go ahead, start adding your course structure, any information you want to give your learners before they actually delve into the actual the learning content. So once you're done setting all that up, and this is very formatable, by the way, so you can like assign different heading levels, change the coloring, change the alignment, put this in a quote even. Let's do that, that's easy. So yeah, once you're done setting up your first component, you can just click on save, and this is the beginning of my course. Now, before I do anything, if I'm looking at this in a very teacher-like point of view, my suggestion before you start actually setting up your course is first, come up with your course outline. So what sections you're going to have, and within each one of them, what's going to happen. Now, I've taken the liberty of creating that already for the sake of brevity. But after that, what you're going to want to do is you want to assign a grading policy to your course, which is very important specifically for those of you who want to give certification, who want to give certifications at the end of the course. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go set up our grading policy and see where the journey takes us. Now, here at the top, you have three very handy toolbars, which we will explore during the session. Now, here I'm going to come to the grading part and set up my grading system. Now, how this works is that here we have an option that says assignment types. First of all, you can decide what's your learning or passing grade grades. Once you've decided that, what you're going to do is you're going to determine how this course is going to be graded for each learner. What I have decided is that 50% the weight of the total grade, 50% of it is going to come from their final exam, and 50% of it is going to come from their class activities. And I can even, for example, deduce 10% from this, leave that at 40%, and then add a new assignment type. So you guys can see how I added these, and you can delete them as well. So this would be my sample new assignment type. This could be a midterm exam even, and it will make up for 10% of the total grade. Now, once I have all of these, I will click on Save Changes. And once that is done, we will go back to the course outline page. You can do that via the Content tab here at the top, or just by clicking on the course name. So we're back here, and we have determined how our course is going to be graded. This is the course structure that I came up with, very simple. It has a welcome section. This is the course content. In more common courses, there's multiple of these. So it would be chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, different parts, a midterm exam, assignments, all of that. But I just shrunk that down into one course content section. And then at last, I have a little final exam section. Now we're going to assign the grading policy to these. So inside my chapter, I have lessons, activities, and my educational content. So I would assume this is where the class activity grade is going to come from. So on the subsection, I will click on Actions, and I will go to Configure it. Here, as you can see under grading, it says grade as, and I'm going to assign this to be graded as my class activity, and I can just click on Save. So that's the first thing I did. And the second one, my final exam, which is going to be graded as such. It's going to be graded as a final exam. So on the exam part, I will configure it and have it graded as a final exam. And I will click on Save. Now, another thing that I want to do in my course and to also build up that interactive element into it is that I don't want people to have access to the final exam before they've mastered their class activities, as I have seen fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chapter 1 here, and I'm going to make it so this chapter 1, which includes my course content, and turns it into a prerequisite to my final exam. So now I'm going to use this subsection as a prerequisite. I'm going to refresh my page real quick. And then I will assign this prerequisite subsection to my final exam. So if somebody so basically, if a student doesn't have the grade I want them to have, they will not be able to access the final exam. Now, this can work in many ways, specifically if you assign like multiple attempts or a lot of questions in your courses. How that's going to work is, for example, you can have a chapter 1 and then an exam at the end of chapter 1, and then chapter 2, and then chapter 3. And you want to make sure your students really grasp on the concept. So you can even set your course up in a way that every next chapter has the prerequisite of having achieved a 60% success from the previous subsection. So now I'm going to assign a prerequisite to this one. I will come here, I will go to Advanced, and I have selected chapter 1 as a prerequisite. And I can also decide the minimum score of, because we don't want to get into trouble, with a minimum score of 101% and a minimum completion of 1%, my learners can access the final exam. So we have set up our grading policy and the way we want our course to flow. So let's go back to Unit 1 and see what are our next steps. So we have set up a grading policy and have assigned it, and we have sealed off our final exam. So we're already off to a great start. Now, I want this course to be engaging. I don't want my learners to just sit, read, or watch something. I want them to really start interacting with what's going on their screen. So I'm going to start it with a very cute and short video that I'm going to attach here. So here in my components, I have a video component. I will drop one here and start editing it. So this, I have already uploaded my video to YouTube, so I'm going to copy this and click on edit, because by clicking on edit, we can set up our entire component, each one of them. I'm going to paste my link here. And I already have a subtitle file for this, and this is where it's going to start getting more interactive. I'm going to go ahead and upload that subtitle file here in my course. Now, if I click on save, what you can see is that now I have attached a YouTube video inside my course with its interactive script on the side of it. So my learners can decide if they want to just read the contents of the video, if they want to watch it. This one comes with subtitles. So if I click on this, you can see the subtitle displayed as well. And the magical thing about this is that if I just click here, it will jump to that point of the video. You see that 47, the second that shows 47. So if I click on this, I have not played it because I'm afraid my internet might fail on me. If you click on here, as you can see, it's interactive and it will jump me to that point inside the video once it is played, which makes it really easy for my learners to really start navigating through the course and through the video, especially for the longer ones, so they can really just jump to the points that they want to focus on. So that being done, we have set up a very basic, simple, yet sort of interactive first chapter. Now let's move on to our next unit. Let me move something here real quick. There we go. And let's see what we're going to do here. So now I'm really going to just focus on the elements inside the studio in which your learners will have to, again, do some interacting work with it. So the first one is, let us create some course components. It starts with question types and discussions. So let us get started on that. As you can see under components, I have a advanced component, a library content, which we will get to when we want to, when we want to start making our exam. The text component, which we already saw, the open response component, which we will get to in the final exam. And the video one we tested, there's a drag and drop and a problem one. So let's go through the problem types. Once I click on it, the window shows really all the different types of problems that I can set up here. And they vary, and there are also advanced ones, as you can see on my screen. And so basically how that works is you can add simple questions, and they are easily set up and configured because they all come with a basic sample default version. And you can also assign hints and feedback to them. So let us design a, for example, multiple choice question that comes with hints and feedback and start configuring it. Now, as you can see here, this is a sample template of a multiple choice type question that comes with hints and feedback. Now, in order to edit this and put my own question here, I will have to click on the edit option. Now here, how that works is this one, this here is the name of my question. So this is my sample question for class activity. I'm going to fix that. There we go. So this here would be my question. So what are the first 5 letters of the pi number? I think that's a pretty easy question. And Yeah, we don't need this part right now, so I'm going to delete this. And these are the answers. So an incorrect answer would be, say, 3.1435, and another one would be 2.1415. And the correct answer is going to be 3.1415. There we go. Now, as you can see here, and everything is already set up, so it's going to be easy. You can specify optional feedback, which appears after this answer is submitted. So I'm just going to be a bit humorous and say you got it wrong. Try again. And for this one, I will also provide some feedback, and I will say very close, but no. Oh, I also have a typo here. Let's fix that. Then below that, we can see that it says you can add an optional hint like this. And the question will come with its own hint button. So let us only add one hint to it and say, this is your optional hint number 1. It starts with 3. That's a basic hint, I would say. So now I have set up my question, but what I'm going to do is I'm also going to set up the hints and feedback part. So once I'm done creating my question, I'm going to go to settings here, and we can see what we have here. So we have set up the display name. The maximum attempts of times my students can interact with this component is going to be 3 times, 4 times. The problem weight, if you want to assign one to it, you can do it. Randomization means that for each student, or always, the place of your choices will be randomized. Show me the answer after after all my attempts. And I can attempt to answer this question 2 times before the show answer button is revealed. And I'm going to put this on true so you can see all the different features of it. And let's not put a timer between attempts. Now, once I click on save, my question is set up. Now, as you can see here, I have the hint button. I can reset my attempts, and I can save my answer. So let's get one wrong, for example, and see how that works. I have to submit it. And it says incorrect. This is the feedback that we designated for it, right? It says very close, but no. So I'm going to try a hint now. It says it starts with 3. Okay, oh, so maybe it's this one. Let's submit that answer. As you can see, I got a feedback again for getting the wrong answer. And it shows me how many attempts I have and how many of them I've used. So now that I've determined this is probably the correct answer, I will click on submit, and I will achieve the point I wanted for this activity. Now you can do this for all question types. So that would include the checkboxes, drop downs, text inputs, or numerical inputs. And you can also do them for the image mapped inputs. Let's actually look at one of these here. Now, this is a very interactive, fun component to use in your courses, which is basically a click on the correct part of the image to get the right answer. So this one, for example, is a geographical question, I think. It says, what country is home to the Great Pyramid of Giza, as well as the cities of Cairo and Memphis? Let's see. I would assume the answer is here. Let's try that. If I click on submit, it will tell me that I got it incorrect. So let me try here instead. And that would be the correct answer. And once all attempts are done, it's showing me a show answer button. So that's fun. And yes, so in this manner, you can go ahead and start adding these interactive little elements among the other components of your course, right? So you're not going to just start off just bombarding your students with questions. What you're going to do is you're going to have educational videos, you're going to have some helping text, and then to keep the students engaged, you're going to add these more interactive, more gamified elements to your course. Now, let us go over another interactive component that we have here. Let's see. There we go. A drag and drop question. This is very customizable, by the way, and you can choose the image underneath it, set it up however you wish. And this is the template that it comes with. So these are the options that I, as the student, can drag and drop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this to the top, and I can see that this is the correct answer. And editing these works like this. It's got multiple steps, but once you've set it up, it's going to be very easy to use. So you assign a title to it, the grading. These are the early on components that you have to fill. If you click on continue, then you can decide your background zones, which are basically the top, middle, and bottom part of the previous image. Next up, you can assign the background colors for each one of them and the text and where it's designated to go. So these are my buttons, the little items that I drag and drop that I decide. So this one says goes to the top. It belongs in the top zone. Other helping information and feedback, if you want, assigned to it. So you create the buttons, and once you click on save, then your question is all set up and ready to go. Now, let us move on and add some more, say, complex components. How that works here is that there are a few tips and tricks here and there, and you can find these by using our AI assistant on the edSPIRIT website and also in the Open EdX documentation. So I'm going to copy this text, and we're going to enable these extra interactive features in the advanced settings of our course. So I'm going to copy this here, and I'm going to come to settings and go to my advanced settings. Now, there's a lot you can do here, and everything is pretty much specified, so you can see exactly what you can or cannot do. Here you can change the name of your course, enable different features. The assigning a subsection as a prerequisite was something that I enabled here previously. So let me bring you here. Enable subsection prerequisites, and I have set it as true. So this really leaves your hand open for more opportunities if you were to go through this part. But let us add our advanced modules so we can take advantage of them in our course. And it is done, so I'm going to click on Save Changes, let that happen, and go back to my course. Now, where were we? We were here, right? And let me just check something here real quick. There we go. So let's just go back to our unit and start adding some more advanced components here. So I'm going to click here. As you can see, these were the ones I added there in the advanced settings that now I can use them. So one of those would be for example, a survey component. If you want feedback from your students or you just want their opinion on something, they're really good, especially for being used as a pace changer in the middle of a perhaps more intensive course. So, and again, these can be fully modified. You can change the information in all of it, the different answers, different options you can get. All of them are fully customizable. You can add questions or you can add answers. Next up, we have we tried the poll, right? So we can add surveys here. Oh, that was the survey. Then let's try polls. There we go. So once your students submit this answer, it will then show the results of each poll. Again, these are very good pace changers, which basically bring your students back into attention, back into action while they're learning. Now, so we're done with this part. Let us move on to the next part. And I think we have forgotten something. Yes, there was a part 3 here, adding a conditional component. Now, this is really good for engaging your students, specifically if you build up to it in the middle of your course. Let us start now and set up an entire conditional component and see how that works and how it can be utilized. But we probably need a scenario for this to make sense. So I'm going to come up with a scenario on the spot. Imagine you have some like information and some questions in one of your units. And for the students who are more eager, or you would want to see perhaps assess your students to see how well they do, and then provide more additional information to them, this is where you can utilize the conditional component. Now let's go ahead and add one here. This was also one of the advanced modules. And we activated it here when we pasted this list. As you can see, the conditional component has been activated here. So I should be able to add it via the advanced and oh no, where is it? Let me go make sure if it has been added correctly. There we go. Let's delete some of the ones that we don't need. Fix the formatting and then save changes here. Now back to the course. There we go. Now I can add a conditional component. So first and foremost, a conditional component, as the name suggests, is a component that has to meet a condition in order to be accessible. So that condition could be answering a question right or wrong. So let's take this question, for example, right? It's a graded question. You can assign your questions not to be graded, by the way, but this is a graded question. And if my students answer this successfully, then they can access more information. And if they get it wrong, then that information would probably be withheld from them. So let us publish this course to keep the changes that we made inside it and then view it live. Now in the live view, because a conditional has to refer back to the component that it's supposed to get the condition from, we're going to get that location here in the live view. So this is the question that I wanted to add as a condition. Once I click here in this list, you can see that there is a location text. We're going to go ahead and copy this and keep it for setting up our conditional. Now back here, let's configure the link of the source of the link of sources, source of links. What was that? Configure list of sources. Let's configure the list of sources. So it has to come with a message. The students have to know what's happening here and what prerequisite there is to accessing this information. So I will say answer the pie question correctly to continue. I already like the mystified, gamified sense of mystery that conditional components bring to the course. So the attribute we are going to go for is that it has to be correct. They have to get it correctly. The value is true. The display name is a mystery information, because why not? We all like a little bit of mystery. None of these matter that much. The source component. Now, if I click on add, this is where I'm going to add the location link that I got from the live view of the course. I'm going to click on save, and that much is set up. Now, we now need to set up the components that are going to be visible if they meet that condition. So here you can easily, as you can see, it's called mystery information, and it says add a new component, and you can add multiple ones here. So once they add it, they get to see a text. They get to see a question again, maybe, and they get to see a video, which talks more about pi number. So this is set up. This is all good to go. Now we go back to our chapter. Now this one has been fully set up, and once a student answers that one, then the information that we put inside it is going to be visible for them. Glad we have that covered. Let us move on to the next part, the next components that I have in mind. So this one, it's in the final exam section, so we're approaching the end. There is a preparing for the exam part. So now here, I'm going to talk about question libraries and randomization of your questions. Let's go set up a question library for creating our exam. I'm going to go back to my studio home. And as you can see here, I have courses, archived courses, and libraries. And I've already made one, but making one is quite easy. You click on create new library. You will call it something, sample library 2.0 under my random organization. And I'm going to give it a code because why not? Now, if I click on create, a new library is selected. But let us go back to the one that I have already set up because that will speed us up in this process. So we have a final exam question bank here. Now, the randomization of questions when you want to set up your libraries is based on the problem type. So what I did was I added 5 multiple choice questions and I added 4 checkboxes that the exam can use to randomize between them. And this is how you can add components to your libraries. So if you go with the problem ones, let us add, for example, the 5th checkbox, finish our library. Now this is going to be my question bank for my exams. It's very useful because you can use these libraries across different courses and then categorize the content inside them. So it's reusable, it's randomized, which ensures exam safety. That's probably not the correct term. And yeah, so now, for example, I have 10 questions in my bank, 4 of which are going to be my final exam questions. Having set that up, let us go back to our course and set up our final exam. Interactive e-learning. Let us open this, make sure we didn't miss anything. And yeah, this is my final exam. Now, we're going to add some exam questions here. Let us start with the library content. It says select the library, so we're going to go ahead and do that from my final exam question bank. I only want the, where was it? The checkbox questions and no reset buttons. I'm going to add this as saved. Now, let us set it up. I want 2 out of the entire numbers. The display name is the checkbox questions. Now, if you set up multiple libraries, then these display names can be the categories or fields of the questions that you want. And the exam is set up, everything is set up. Now I'm going to click here. And if I click on view, what I get here is 2 random questions. This has shown me 5. I probably have not set it up correctly. Oh, right. It says showing all matching content eligible to be added into checkbox questions. Each student will be assigned 2 components drawn randomly from this list. So there we go. That's set up. Now that's one of them that I wanted to add. We can add another one for the multiple choice questions. This one is going to be 3 from this library from the multiple choice type. And everything else is fully set up. Now I'm going to be adding another component here to make the exam feel more like an exam, which is where I'm going to add an open response question. Open response questions in the components are elements that require a long essay type kind of answer. So how we're going to, and these can be graded in multiple ways. I'm going to go with the staff assessment, but I will introduce the other ones. Let's bring this here so you can see the elements. I will delete this and I will add the staff assessment. So each open response assessment comes with a prompt, which is the question, which is what they need to contemplate, think on, and then answer on. So as you can see, the prompt is visible here, and your student can type out a response or upload a file in answer to each open response assessment on your own choosing. Now, it's a very interactive and intuitive way to assess them. This one is a self-assessment. So if I come to edit here, you can see that I can create a rubric for it. Here I can create my prompt. Now the rubric is the tool I'm going to use to teach my students how they can grade their own response. So what you do is you assign criteria. So for example, if it's a language question and they're asked to type a paragraph, the criteria that paragraph has to be assessed on to make sure that it's correct is going to be, for example, punctuation, dictation, and grammar. So my criteria are going to be my punctuation, grammar, and dictation. Then each criteria has a state or an option. So as you can see, the first one is the criteria name. I'm going to call it grammar. And this is how you can create rubrics. These will be accessible by learners and by staff if you choose the component to be staff graded only. And the options are going to be poor grammar, fair grammar, or good grammar. And you can add more and provide details for them. So once the student goes ahead and answers this question, submits their answer, then they are presented with, as you can see, let us submit a random response here so you can see how that works. So we have set this up, we have answered it, and we have confirmed it. And now we get to assess it based on the criteria that we specified for this and based on the options that it gets. So for this criteria, I answered it fairly because I analyzed it like so. And this is how you can set up rubrics. And this again will be accessible to staff as well once you use a staff graded component. And yes, so I will add one, and I will also add a staff graded one, which is more easily set up. You just put the prompt, they will answer it, and then you or any course staff people can go into the instructor dashboard to assess these, assign a grade to them, and then the grade will be delivered to your learners. Now, my final exam is all set up. I am going to go back to my course outline page, make sure all the changes that we made together are published, so our course can be seen from a student point of view. This button here helps us publish all our sections, subsections, or units, both individually or one by one, based on your choosing. I'm publishing the entire sections. Now my course is all done, and let's go view it live, see how it turned out. So we are on, let us go to the previous chapter. So this is where we start. And as you can see, discussions are enabled, which is one of the last interactive component, which is, I believe, crucial for every course. Here, your students always have access to this tab. As you can see, it's visible next to their unit, and you can enable or disable this. You can also set up notifications for it, depending on your policy. And they can discuss the content of each unit. It can be in the form of questions or ideas or thought sharing. This one here is going to be course specific, but you also get a discussion tab here, which shows all the discussions that go on and happen inside your course. And as you can see, it has filtering options, and yeah, it's quite easy to, it's there for the social learning aspect of online courses, because your student might be by themselves sitting behind a computer, but putting discussions accessible next to each unit and inside each course really helps the students transfer thoughts, ask questions, and grow with their own learning within the contents of the course. But let us go back to the course to see the outcome of what we have achieved here, what we have set up technically, to see what the experience is going to be like. So this is the video. As we mentioned, it's going to be interactive. I will watch it. I will move on. I will go to the next chapter. I can navigate exactly where I am in the course and go back and forth inside it by using these and using other things. See, it's giving me a little warning. It says this section is a prerequisite. You must complete this section in order to unlock the additional content. So now I'm going to pay more attention here. I would assume, like, I see a question here. I'm a smart girl, so I will answer this one correctly. I will answer this one. I also know the answer to that. There is a drag and drop that I will get wrong a little bit. And there are polls which we set up, multiple ones apparently. And then here, you see this? It says answer the pie question correctly to continue. So, and we did answer it correctly. And we clicked on submit and everything is fine. So let us go to the next part. Oh, where's my conditional? I may have missed the button here somewhere. Ah, you see, I answered that correctly. And now my question, which I assigned to the conditional type, is visible here. So I get to answer this and I have access to another video that I added. And I will move on to the next part. We didn't add anything here. This was more for the flow of our content. And this is my final exam. Look what it says. It says this subsection is unlocked for learners when they meet the prerequisite requirements. Our requirement was answering 1% of questions on chapter 1 with a 1% minimum score. So we do have access to it. We set it up like so. And remember, I said in our library, we have 5 checkboxes and 5 multiple choice questions. So it has randomly brought me checkbox 3 and 1 and multiple choice 5 and 3. I added 3, so it brought 4 as well. And these will be random between each, among the students. And then there is the open response and the staff graded response. And my course is done. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. We're going to be moving forward soon to the Q&A. So let us take a breather for a few seconds and we will move on to our Q&A section. Right, so the poll is open. And let me find the Q&A part so we can get to it. There we go. So I am open to any questions. Thank you everyone for being here and attending this webinar. It was really nice to have all of you. I am awaiting any possible questions. As there are no questions, I am going to once more thank everybody who attended the webinar today. And if anyone's interested in edSPIRIT, there is a QR code on the screen that you can scan and talk to us. And I've also put my email, so if you had any questions or if you needed help with anything, you are always free to reach out to me. And once more, I'm going to thank everyone for their active participation. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Thank you so much, and bye.